guys, welcome back to Linda's Pantry, and today I'm bringing you along for a canning session. I'll be canning with 4 jars lids today, and I've got all my stuff laid out. Hopefully I've got enough of everything and I don't have to scramble for anything. So today, as you see in the title, I am canning American goulash. Now, we love goulash. It's a go-to comfort food. It's great left over. It's great for lunches. Sometimes though, I don't want to have to get out everything and do it from scratch. And when I do, I usually do a big batch, so we have leftovers. But now I can make this and have it where it is shelf stable and ready to go. I'm going to can this in pint jars only because it makes sense for us. I don't typically eat dinner necessarily, or I just have a few bites, and neither one of us are big eaters. But you open a pint jar, let's pretend this is the goulash, and then you cook off a cup of pasta or a cup and a half, and you've got dinner. Once it's cooked, the volume is plenty for 2 people. If you have a family that's got bigger eaters, like my inspiration came from Renee over at Pike Creek Farm. Her husband really likes it. He really has a big plate and he loves the leftovers. So she did hers in quarts. I'm going to do mine in pints, and I'm super excited. It calls for peppers, onions, garlic. I'm not going to do the seasoning that she omitted as well. We both use Italian seasoning. Dry seasoning, you can interchange them. I'm going to leave the dry mustard out of the recipe, and I printed this off. She had a link from the Extension Agency of Missouri. So it's extension.missouri.edu. I'll try to remember to leave a link to that because it really is it looks like almost a spot-on recipe. But the best part about it is 2 to 3 pounds, and I'm doubling the recipe, 2 to 3 pounds of lean ground beef or turkey. Now, Renee used venison. I'm going to use ground turkey because, well, I love ground turkey in chili, in spaghetti, and in goulash. And I'm not a fan of the taste of ground beef once it's canned, although I will be canning some to clean out the freezer, and that will be earmarked for experimental recipes to see if I can learn to love it. Or our puppies, I feed them homemade dog food over their food every day, twice a day, and well, actually not over their food, but with their dry kibble, and they're both very, very healthy. So, okay, that will be their emergency stuff, or the next time I want to put beef in their dog food. It's all ready to go. So I've got my 5 pounds it calls for 2 to 3 pounds of lean ground beef or turkey. So I did 5 pounds. I've got a 3 pound, 4, and 5. I've got 5 pounds. I figured that's going to do about 10 pints. I have my steam canner on the stove, and I have my big All-American canner. Sorry about that. Got the windows open. It's beautiful today. The All-American canner, I have used it on the stove and canned a full session of meat the other day, double stacked, and it did just fine. So no worries on the glass top stove, or at least this one. So you want to check your manufacturer's recommendations on that. I've got all my canning supplies out. So come on in, let's get started. We got to make this. I'm like, the clock is ticking. We got to get this on the pantry shelf. And absolutely, go watch Renee's video as well. Everybody does videos a little bit differently, and she did such a great job. It really inspired me to go down and print that recipe. She only mentioned turkey kind of as a brief mention. She really didn't say, or you could use turkey. But when she said turkey, I was like, wait a minute. So I went to look at the recipe, and that's what it said. It says, or turkey. Yes. So let's get started. I'm going to be chopping. I've got everything cut up and ready to go in the Vidalia Chop Wizard. And I've got a quart of whole tomatoes, as well as 3 pints of home canned, and these are all home canned from my garden last year, home canned tomato sauce. And it tastes so good. It's got such a great flavor. I'm going to use Italian seasoning and some red pepper flakes, salt and pepper, obviously, and yeah, and then the ground turkey. And my Ground turkey is 93, and two of them are 93% lean, and the other one is 15%. But honestly, there's not much there. So come on in, let's follow this recipe. Well, it calls for, let's see, it calls for peppers. It calls for a cup of chopped peppers, and you can use a variety of hot or bell. And I am using jalapeno because I like jalapeno flavor. I've seeded and deveined it, and the Chop Wizard does a whack-a-patchy right there. Does a great job. Protect your hands. If you do get hot pepper oil on your hands, remove it with oil. So if you just rub your hands with some more oil, it'll attract the oil. Water and oil repel, so water doesn't do it. And that, still that got stuck on the side. Great. And it's the jalapeno, of course. Okay, I'm going to wash my hands right now, and we're going to get these other peppers on there. And I'm going to chop up my onions. I'll hand mince because it does call for minced garlic. I peeled a bunch of garlic. We're going to get all this chopped up. We need at least 2, and I always do green bell pepper for my goulash. So sorry about that noise. I'll come back when I'm done slapping that thing around. The Vidalia chopper has a measuring spot on the side. I don't think it matters if you went over because we are pressure canning this for the correct amount of time. But you do want to stick to the approved tested recipe. So I've got a little bit of red and green bell pepper, and now I can get to the onion, and we won't need the other red bell, but I'm super excited about this. And then I'll chop, and this onion right here is a sweet onion, and I want to use it up. So I think between the 2 medium onions and the large, it doesn't have an exact measurement. So that's why I say, if you're not being exact and you have, 3 tablespoons more peppers than it calls for, you're going to be all right. You'll be all right. I don't know about that. Okay. And we'll just get to keep a-whacking. Sounds funny. All right. I'll be back after I've minced the garlic. Promise. Okay, so I have the induction cooktop, and I'm going to start that. And it heats up pretty fast. It also, it's a great tool to have in the kitchen, to have an extra burner. And I'm going to open up a couple of these packages. I almost wish I would have thought out one more package. I noticed I had one more in the freezer. This is a non-stick surface, so I'm good to go there. And in the trash she goes. All right. Get your diaper off here. And then this one is the 85% lean. It still has little ice crystals, but I don't think that's going to matter. Perfect. Now I get to wash my hands. And the top of the trash. So let me get my hands washed, and we'll let that start cooking. Hot soapy water, please. Yes. And a Clorox wipe for the top of that. And you're good to go. Okay. I mixed my vegetables together, the garlic, the onions, and all of it, because that's how I would do it, and that garlic is not going to burn with all this moisture in there. I'm hoping everything fits in this pan. This is a big 5-quart pan, so I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that it fits. And if not, we'll put it in a bigger pot. But let's get the meat browned off before we get crazy. Okay, oh, there we go. Okay, let's break it up. Like I said, I'm not putting any oil. right in the center, that's still frozen, but that's okay. It's the beauty of ground meat. Yeah, I think I'm going to need a bigger pot. Dang it. That's all right. We'll get it. It'll shrink down once it cooks up. Okay, once this is a little more brown and I can add my vegetables, we'll be good to go. Okay, so the meat is very close. I'm going to add all the veg right on in. I wanted to get the meat a little further along. This has to simmer for a half hour, so guess what? There's not going to be room for everything in this pot. So we're gonna get this cleaned out, and we're gonna toss this, but it's gonna end up going. I've got another pot that I think is induction okay, because not all of my pans are induction okay. Like the canners are not. There's no way sauce and everything else is gonna fit in here and make it easy. So I'm gonna transfer it to a bigger pot, and we'll continue. Okay. I've got a 10-quart pot. We're going to put it in there. How's that? Okay, so the bigger pan option was not an option, apparently. So we're going to go ahead with, I'm going to scoot this over. And the nice thing about an induction burner, it's pretty safe handling. Like this. Counter off. And yeah. So I'm going to try to use just this and let it simmer in here. We're going to see how it works. I think once the liquid is in here, it'll help. So I'm going to add my seasoning first. And so it's calling for chipotle, cumin, thyme, 1, 2, yeah. So we're going to do Italian seasoning, and I'm going to be very generous. You can interchange dried herbs in your canning. So I've got 3 tablespoons of Italian seasoning. I'm going to taste this because it's got to simmer for 30 minutes. I've got Worcestershire sauce, which it calls for, where's the Worcestershire? 3 tablespoons, so we need 6 tablespoons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Healthy. Okay. Leave that there. And now we've got our salt and pepper. We've got our Italian seasoning. We're not going to use dried mushrooms, or not dried mushrooms, dried mustard. We're not doing it. So I'm going to open my jars of, and I'm going to save the measuring spoons because to taste, I might want a little bit more Worcestershire or Italian seasoning. It'll tell me in a half hour when it's done simmering, right? Tomato sauce, 4 jars lid, success. Okay, and I want to make sure I get every ounce of every bit of that. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful sauce. Oh. Mm-hmm. Get in there with your spatula and get it all. I grew it. I canned it. I want every drop of it. And if I was making if I was making something else, I'd be rinsing that with some water. But we'll stick to the plan here. And this is how those jar openers work. 4 Jars has a beautiful jar opener, so oh yeah. Seal of approval. And in she goes. Because it calls for 3 cups. So that means I need 6. And this is, to be really honest, this is probably what we're having for dinner tonight. Even though I have leftovers, I'm just not sure if we are in the mood for that. Once you smell this coming in, yeah, baby, nice. All right, sweet deal. Saucy. Tomato sauce. I might make it. We might be able to pull this off, especially once we get that sauce all down into the meat. We'll just have to do the tomatoes last. Ooh, there's another half a teaspoon. Don't waste it. Grab it. You own it. Okay, let's get cleanup crew here. And then just gently work that sauce in here. And I'm with Renee. I can already tell it's going to be too thick. And I may need to change the pot. I really want a bigger pot so it's easier to get out of come time to can it up. So let me see if I've got a pot that I can use, or if I just strictly have to go over to the stove and not worry about it, because none of these pots that are up here are conducive. So I'm going to change pots. I'm going to put it on the stove, and we'll just have to, our jars are hot and ready, but I'll just switch stuff around till it's time. So I'll be back when we're in a different big old pot. Okay, so I got it transferred into a pot with almost no mess. It smells amazing. It smells just like when I make it. I'm going to add the whole tomatoes, but I'm going to drain off a little bit of the liquid. Nice seal. 4 jars for the win. Okay. I'm going to go, and look at that. So that had a really good seal, but you can see product still does get up under or right next to the lid, and it still holds that seal. I'm going to pour off some of that water. I don't want it too watery, just a little bit, okay? And then the rest can evaporate off as this cooks. In goes the whole tomatoes. And I'm about ready to do a preliminary taste test. And I've got some water back here to get us some macaroni. Oh, that looks beautiful. I'm super excited about this. Yeah, you're going to have chunks of that tomato. And so I'm going to do a little bit of a taste test right now. And then I'll know whether I've got my seasoning correct or not. Still has to simmer here for another 25 minutes. Okay, let's give it a little bit of a taste. I want peppers, onions, meat, and plenty of the sauce so I can really get a flavor profile. Yum, doesn't that look good? Wow, yeah, that's perfect. You add that with pasta, and the pasta absorbs. I want plenty of liquid to be the catalyst in the canning process, obviously. So I don't want it too thick. We want the viscosity to be perfect for canning. You can always thicken it up or add more tomatoes or whatever you want when you open the jar. But I'm going to say I do think it needs more Italian seasoning, a little bit more Worcestershire. What does it say? Let's see here. Hold on. French's has the enunciation. It says Worcestershire. Worcestershire. That's the way I've always pronounced it. So I'm going to add another tablespoon or so of Worcestershire and some more Italian seasoning. We're going to let this simmer for another 20-25 minutes, and we'll be ready to jar it up. Okay, so this simmered for 30 minutes, and I'm super excited. I dished up some for the macaroni for us, and we're going to have this. It's delicious. So I will bring you back for a taste test. I'll do that on my next video so you can see how delicious it is. And you're going to want to debubble. Chances are you're not going to have any issues with that. You want a 1-inch headspace. I think I'm a little high, so I'm going to grab a spoon just in case I'm a little high on that. And where's my spoon rest? Okay. And then that way I don't have to worry about it, right? And I'll get this over to the next guy. It might be your 1-inch. You can measure with your debubbler tool. So this is a debubbler tool, and it has a 1-inch headspace right there. We're touching the very top of the product, which is exactly 1 inch. We're going to leave it at that. I'm going to take this hot jar. Hot jars, they've been in the steam canner. And wipe the rim really, really good. Although you saw firsthand that even when you wipe the rim during the canning process, you can have product get up really close or, underneath, but it may or may not impede your seal. We just want to make sure our insurance policy is as close as possible. So 4 jars lid, 4 jars ring. I'm guessing that's, there we go. Ring, finger tight, just seriously until you get resistance. Don't tip your jar coming in or out of the canner if you can help it. Look at how beautiful that is. I see I see pepper flakes in there because we love the pepper. And I'm excited to put this in the canner. The canner is warming up. It's definitely warm enough to hold that jar. So we're going to go ahead and stir your mixture. Ground turkey is one of my favorites. I mean, we have a lot of beef in the freezer, but like I said, I'm going to have to test out some beef recipes. I'm just not a fan of how it comes out. It seems it's soft, and I don't know if I've just not, I got that one too full too. Okay, no worries, no harm, no foul. We'll take some out. If I had my 4 jars funnel, which it's out there somewhere, I'm going to grab it for the next canning session. It has measurements so you can see as you're filling the jar. So if you see that you've gotten stuff on your paper towel, and this is soaked with vinegar, go ahead and move it around, get another one. And we're going to rinse and repeat these lids and rings. And this is going to can. Once it comes up to pressure and it's vented for 10 minutes, it will can for 75 minutes. But look how beautiful. I'm super excited about this. I haven't been excited about, I said I wasn't going to do meal starters, but this one I know I will use. The other ones I'm struggling. I'm on the struggle bus of whether I'm going to use them. Let me grab a couple more jars off of the steam canner. And if you have any water in there, dump that out. Sometimes a jar will get drips from the steam canner. You just dump it out. It's okay. Okay, let's get this show on the road. Okay, and mix it up. You want mix the peppers, the garlic. Okay, let's try not to put too much in there. And the liquid is the catalyst that gets the heat all the way to the center of the jar. So we actually added a little bit more to it. And again, I've got to spoon off some. I'm not very good at this without my 4 jars. Funnel. I've been spoiled. Thank you, 4 jars, for spoiling me. All right. Don't forget, if you want to just go look around and shop, it doesn't cost anything to shop around. Could you use freeze-dried peppers and onions in this? Yes, I could have totally used freeze-dried peppers from Thrive. That link is down below as well, but I chose fresh today because I had them. All right, in the canner she goes. I'll let you know at the end how many jars I get. Okay, guys, I have all the jars in the canner. It made 10, which is what I planned on, and it's already boiling in there. I got a phone call, and I'm like, I gotta go. I'm canning. Ow, that's hot. Okay, I'm canning. So get your lid on. I've got 9 jars on the bottom, 1 on the top, and dinner. Look at that. Mm-hmm. We're gonna let that do its thing. You're gonna lock these thumb screws opposites of each other and just together. Don't tighten them yet till you get them all on here. This levels out the lid. This has to come up and vent out of the petcock for 10 full minutes. And the cool down, that timing, all of it is part of the timing process because it has to be to kill botulism, which could be present in any of the vegetables or even the meat. So then once you got them on, go ahead and tighten them down. And we're good to go. Okay, once this vents steady stream of steam, keep it away from your microwave and your cabinets, but once, and it's already wanting to spit some stuff out, then you're going to start your timing for 10 minutes. Once that is over, then you'll put your weight on, and for my altitude, and the recipe says 10 pounds of weight, but you really do need to check your altitude because it could be different. When I was in Reno, it was, I think it was 13 pounds, but I had to use 15 pounds on the weight. The dial gauge will be at 11 to 12 pounds with that 10-pound weight. So know that your dial gauge will always be a little bit different. But I'm super excited to have this on the shelf, and I can't wait to bring it back when this is done, and we're pulling it out of the canner. I've got 10 pints of this, and I just talked to Renee, and she said she needed to can some more. They've already gone through a few jars. So, woo! It's a winner. All right. I think I need to bite. Okay, guys, it's the next morning. I took these out of the canner last night after I got out of the shower and not camera ready. But I wanted to go over exactly what happened. And I still have the canner with the water in it. I want you to see the water. Let's go over there right now. Hold on. So I'll take you over and you can see, oh, I've got a little bit of color to the water. That's an indicator. But I had it double stacked, remember? And I'm going to make you lunch. We're going to do a taste test of the American goulash. But first I wanted to chitty chat a minute. Sorry, hopefully that didn't make you dizzy. The one that was on the top shelf, and how a pressure canner works. When you're venting, you're removing the air from the canner and replacing it with steam. So that's why it's important that jars are not submerged past a certain point in your canner. You need that much volume in the canner to create a steam that can surround all the jars and create enough heat to get to the center of the jar. What this also does, it makes the food expand. And tomatoes are famous for expanding. They expand like pie filling. And so the top jar, literally, I think it was cross-threaded a little bit because it was tipped up like that. I already knew we're not going to have a seal because something had gotten up under, look at that, up under that lid. But because I know right away, I set that aside and I put that in the refrigerator. So I had another one that was not acting, you know, all of these were bubbling and boiling in the jars, even though I let them sit in the canner for a good 15 minutes with the lid kind of propped up to really let the room temperature acclimate the canner, you know what I'm saying? This one just, it wasn't acting the same, and I could tell that it had a little bit of something happened, and I'm getting ready to wash the jars is why I'm doing this right now. Again, no seal. I put it in the fridge. As soon as they cooled down enough, I put them in the refrigerator. So I'm going to wash jars here in a second, but I wanted to bring you for a taste test. So I get to taste one of these that have been canned. Now, we did have this last night. No harm, no foul. One of these is going to go into a freezer safe container. I'm not going to use a mason jar for that. These are not freezer jars. You can do it, but you take a chance of it getting hit or it expands too much in the freezer and then your jar breaks. Nobody wants that. So we don't want that. I've got freezer containers like this. That's exactly what it's going to go in. So let's get this one and go ahead and dump that out. Ooh, we probably could dump out a good portion of the other one. And that jar is going to get washed and run through the dishwasher. Lid goes in the garbage. Ring goes in the soapy water that I've already got, soaking my rings. And then this one, I'll pour some of it, but some of it I want for the taste test. So we'll reserve that because I've got macaroni cooking over there. This will go in the freezer, and we'll use this before I use my home canned stuff. There's nothing wrong with that, and I have tasted this. But I'm going to taste it on pasta for you. Okay, a little bit of sauce, a little bit of pasta, and it smells wonderful. But I wanted to bring you back and show you everybody has fails. I don't blame the lids at all. I blame possibly the cross thread situation. And tomatoes do expand, and your lids and rings, if your ring is a little bit off, then food can get up under that. So I'm positive that that's what that was. These all canned up beautifully. You can see they're still very, very much moving in the jar with plenty of liquid. Oh, it's going to be so good. So I'm going to wash these up and get them on the shelf, label them and get them on the shelf. And these are, we've got plenty of meals for, we've got 8 meals plus this to get us through. And that's, I don't know that we have goulash more than 8 times a year, but maybe. And if I wanted to make a big batch, I open 2 jars, no big deal. So I will be sharing some of this goulash with my brother-in-law, I'm pretty sure, because we have something else on the menu for dinner tonight. And we had this last night with some of the leftover. There was a little bit, I just couldn't resist. It was so good. So, but I'm making it fresh with the canned stuff. So come on along. Let's do a taste test. Okay, so we're at the stove. I've cooked off the macaroni, and you don't have to do this, but butter. Add some butter to that. And I don't rinse the pasta. I leave it as starchy as it needs to be. Empty what's in this jar. And you could see a pint of this would go a long ways. And the peppers, don't miss any of that goodness in there. Get it all out. And then we're going to mix this up. And depending on how heavy you want your sauce, how saucy you want your macaroni, is if I add more or not. And that was 1 cup of macaroni cooked up. It makes 2 cups. That's more than enough food for my husband and I. I'm going to add some of this that I put in the freezer container just because we like it a little bit saucier. So anyway, you've got a good, now we're going to heat this through and it's ready to serve, literally. We like it with some cheese on it, so I'm probably going to add some Parmesan cheese, and I don't mind if it's the green stuff or fresh. Either way, it's just fine with me. So let's get this. I'll bring you over. We'll get a taste test. Okay, I am back, and I'm dishing this up. I want a nice big chunk of turkey in there. All the veggies. It smells so good. Let's set this back on the stove. Shut my cabinet. And let's get us a little bit of Parmesan. And like I said, I don't mind the Parmesan in the can. It's okay. It's quite all right. Okay. Let's do a fork. Maybe a spoon. Let's do it. Okay. A little bit of grated cheese. I don't want to use my fresh. I use the fresh stuff in my bread. And Parmesan and garlic bread. Parmesan and rosemary garlic bread. Okay. Here we go. Look at that. Doesn't that look good? And I want a big piece of turkey right off the get-go because that's the test. Is this going to be something we like and the texture that we like? It's hot. But I'm going in. I'm doing this for you. Wow. I don't know that you could tell the difference from if you cooked off ground beef. The taste of the turkey takes on so much of the flavor of the rest of the stuff. No one would know if you said this was ground beef. And the texture is like fresh cooked ground meat, not canned. Most of the time, ground beef, it's very soft. Not soft at all. And the flavors of the sauce with the vegetables, it has that fresh taste. Like I just picked those tomatoes. It's intense. And I love the Italian seasoning. So this is American goulash. I know there's people out there that can pasta. It's not approved. And if you've ever had canned pasta, it's terrible. Not home canned. I'm talking about store-bought. Store canned pasta, it's soft and lifeless. It's disgusting. So why would you do that when you can have pasta al dente? And as this sits, it's just going to soak up everything. My brother-in-law is going to be so happy with me. So is my mother-in-law. I'll take her some too. All right, guys. It's a thumbs up for me. I hope that you'll try it. It's a winner recipe. I will be doing this again when we get down to 2 or 3 jars. I'll go ahead and do it again. But I got to get these jars washed up and on the ship.